thing. From what I've seen in other neighborhoods, it's pretty informal. It doesn't have to be real complicated, and actually I think keeping it simple is a lot easier for everybody. The biggest thing is having once in a while these kinds of meetings where I can come out and talk about things that are going on in your neighborhood, trends, things to look out for, vandalisms, what have you. And luckily you're pretty low. I mean, the school's had a couple of things, and other than that, it's all houses here. It's not really commercial businesses and things to look out for. So the good thing about your neighborhoods is those of you that live in here and have been in here for a while, you kind of know what belongs, what doesn't belong, and things like that. So to get together informally, keep it kind of simple, and be able to communicate with each other about, hey, is this normal? Is this not normal? Do we need to report this? And have a little bit of discussion that could help prevent a lot of things. Just putting the signs up in the entrances and a sticker on your residence, I mean, that could be enough to prevent someone from thinking about coming into this neighborhood and stealing from you or breaking into your house or something like that. I mean, if they want to do it, they're going to do it one way or another. But the more things you have out there, the better chances that someone thinking about coming in here doing crime, they're going to think, oh, there's probably people, at least someone in here is watching and could be watching for things that don't belong or that are out of the ordinary. So a lot of times when I've talked, what little I just came into this job a few months ago, what little I've been around talking to groups like this, and from what I've seen and talking to people on the street, the biggest thing that I've been doing is kind of educating people on, when do you report stuff? What do you report? What should you report? We get a lot of calls for service on patrol that are late, or people are like, oh, I don't know if I should call about this or not. They maybe wait too long. What's an emergency? What's not an emergency? And so that's kind of what I'm here for, is to be a resource for that kind of stuff. I mean, we don't want 911 calls for when your dog runs away, but if you've got suspicious things going on in your neighborhood and it's midnight and you get weird cars driving around, maybe 911. Maybe just knowing the dispatch number of 529-1200. It's pretty easy to remember. Maybe just knowing that and be able to call in right now when you see it, instead of, a couple hours later it's bothering you, you're not sure if it's still around. That's important for us. That's important in helping our guys on the street come in here and be able to do their job and take care of those things for you. We get around in these neighborhoods as much as we can, but we can't see everything everywhere all at once. So if we know it's happening somewhere, the sooner we can get a call, the sooner we can come and check it out and hopefully prevent something from happening. Even just us driving in might prevent some stuff and keep someone out of here and out of your stuff. That's kind of what it's all about. So have those numbers. By all means, if there's an emergency, if you're not sure, don't be afraid to call 911. Understand they're going to ask you some questions: where you're at, who you are, what's the nature of the emergency, things like that. If in doubt, you can still call that non-emergency number, but don't be hesitant to call in. Make sure what you're seeing is what you're seeing before you call in, but don't be afraid to call in. Don't let it bug you for a couple hours and then wish you would have called something in earlier. We would rather come and check it out, be in your neighborhood and be seen and find that there's nothing wrong than to have to come back and start to figure out what went wrong and try to solve a problem that way. So does that kind of make sense in general? So 529-1200, that's the basic number to call. What we want from people doing neighborhood watch stuff, well, what we ask of anybody is to be eyes and ears for us. We don't want people to be vigilantes. We don't want people to go out and take action on their own. I mean, unless you absolutely have to. Your first thing you should do is be a good witness, be reporting things to us, and be a good witness. Get as much information as you can with cell phones and things like that. Take pictures, take video. Even if you got to yell out at someone, I'm calling the cops, to get something to go away, feel free to do that. We have all kinds of different calls in this county, and we can get all kinds of different things in your neighborhood no matter what you do. But the best thing you guys can do is be a good witness. If you feel like you have to intervene, make sure it's for a good reason. Make sure you're helping to protect somebody, And make sure that's all you're doing is protecting somebody or yourselves or others. Do what you need to do there. So, that's the basics there. Another thing that's gotten started, and I'll let Kyle talk more about that, and I think it's pretty effective. It's a little bit hard to keep managed and steered the right direction, but you guys have a pretty good Facebook page going already, and I think that's great. It's a good way to communicate. You know, I've lost things. Has anybody else had these weird things going on? It's a good thing to communicate to see, you know, has anybody else seen the weird green car drive through at 1 o'clock in the morning? You know, it's a good way to communicate. It's kind of, you want to make sure it's kind of steered, that it's stayed in that general area of what you want for safety and neighborhood watch purposes. You don't want it to become a gossip page or anything like that. But, I mean, that's up to you guys how you run it. Like I say, I think it can be pretty simple. If you start formalizing things a little more, it can get a whole lot more complicated, and everybody's got busy lives already. So some of these brochures, I only had a few. They have some ideas on how to develop some things, but basically all it takes is just a group of people informally to get together to be eyes and ears for everybody else, and just kind of watching everybody's back, knowing who your neighbors are a little bit. Not every neighbor wants to be neighborly. Not every neighbor wants to talk to you. Not every neighbor wants to come to meetings or anything like that. But at least know who they are and know who belongs and who doesn't belong. That way you can call and report things that don't belong. And it may be nothing. We don't want people to be paranoid or overreactive by any means. Use your best judgment. Use some common sense there. But that's the best way that you can help keep criminals and crime out of your neighborhood, out of your square. So, like I say, this is pretty quiet in here, especially for as many residents as you have in this, quarter of a square mile here, eighth of a square mile, however big it is. And I took in the whole neighborhood, 41st East. You get on the other side of the tracks, we may have a few more calls for service on a couple of streets over there that I won't mention. And a little further south, little pockets here and there, but your guys, this is a pretty squared away neighborhood, and you have several law enforcement officers that live in this neighborhood. Several live in the neighborhood across Hammond. I live in the neighborhood across Hammond Road over there. And where the schools are close and things like that, officers are around through here quite a bit. So they may not come right down your street all the time, but officers are through here quite a bit. So to get signs put up, typically we get those put up at the entrances to your neighborhood. So you've got 2 out here on Iona Road and 1 off of Hammond Road on Vision. They're about $25 a sign. Road and Bridge puts those up for us. If they fade, then Road and Bridge will take them down, and you just got to collect another $25 for a sign. But they last for quite a long time, and your entrances, pretty much, usually the ones that fade the fastest are the ones that face south. They're getting the sun all the time, so they'll last a long time. That's a pretty small investment for a neighborhood. It's hard to measure how much good they do, but I guess I could measure it by coming back this time next year and giving you another set of calls for service and see if we have less. But anyway, any questions? I'll get to you in a second.
For those of us that are on Hammond Road,
Yes.
what do we do with signage?
That's hard because it's a busy street. Typically, we're putting those to the entrances of those neighborhoods, so I don't know. We could get one and see if Road and Bridge will put it up out there. There's some other, I know when they put those at the entrances to the neighborhoods, they've got to make sure they're not encroaching on any other signage.
Aren't there window decals they can put in the window?
Yeah, and I've got some of those here. I know we can get some bigger ones. If you wanted a sign out front, I think we could put one up. It just depends on, I don't know how effective it's gonna be out there on the major road. I mean, it could be, we could see that, as long as Road and Bridge doesn't block any other upcoming signs or anything like that by your house. And I don't know how far off Hammond Road you're, or how far off of Iona you are in Hammond, but, are you one of the houses right on? Yeah, wouldn't hurt.
So who actually maintains the sign? Somebody runs it over?
Road and Bridge will. If it gets run over or something like that, then we'll get it put back up. I mean,
Do we need to do another donation to pay
Um,
for it?
that's a good question, possibly. 'Cause we don't get it hit very often, we don't get them stolen or anything like that, and like I say, usually at the entrance to a neighborhood where they're just not gonna get hit in a spot. Now, the one on Allen Road might get hit when you slick out there with cars falling off all
I
over.
wonder about the entrance on Allen Road, I mean, people are always in that ditch,
Yeah,
I have about 6 cars in my
so I
front
guess.
yard.
Yeah. and you're fighting a whole different problem with that and the way the roads are built there. So I think they're not gonna keep putting it back up if it keeps getting hit in the same spot. And I think we could figure something out. Of course, if another car hits it, we're gonna probably make a sort of claim, on that person's insurance to take care of it or whatever. We usually include that stuff in our crash reports, so there shouldn't be any reason why it wouldn't get taken care of by whoever hit it, as long as we figure out who hit it. We get a lot of people running off the road hitting signs and mailboxes and fence posts that don't report it, and they drive away before we get there, so. But it hasn't been that much of a problem, so, we can cross that bridge when it gets there.
I will tell you that I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say they're willing to help out with the donation. And I mean, I can't guarantee anything, but I would imagine that I could afford $25 a year to put up another sign if I had to. Now, if there's 20 signs a year, that might become a little tough for one
Yeah.
person, but
I mean, if we're getting that many hit in one spot, we probably should have moved it about 19 signs ago.
Right.
So, to a different spot, so.
Do we
But
have HOA fees in our, is there,
There's
none?
No.
no covenants and no HOA fees.
There's nothing like that?
There's, I think out in these neighborhood pockets out in the county, there's some, they're not covenants, but there's some county ordinances that cover a couple things of parking and this and that, but
There's no covenants.
that's the only thing I know of, so. You had a question. I don't want to miss any questions here. He has a question.
So there has been a car going back and forth on the same road,
Yeah.
and it happens. So it happens today, and then far away.
Yeah.
So they're really far away from each other. So yeah.
Does it look suspicious?
It's a dark car, and
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye out on it and just tell your parents about it. And they keep an eye on it. Maybe they'll take a picture of it for you. And then they can get a hold of one of us and we'll look at it. Sound good?
Yeah.
Good question. They'll turn any questions down here.
You might.
Except for-
In the thefts that are happening in the neighborhoods, in our neighborhood in particular, is there specific things that the thieves are looking for? Or is it just kind of an opportunity type theft, or?
The ones I read today, that's good, and that reminded me to talk about a couple things. The ones I did see today, the burglaries and the thefts, a couple of those, what did I say, there was 4? There was 5 thefts, and 3 of them were from construction sites, houses being built. So they were tools and things like that. And your neighborhood's getting pretty full, but you're close to still some that are being built. And we get that's a common thing. We're, at nights, our patrol guys are always hitting those construction areas because those guys are getting hit, the trailers are getting hit, they're getting wood taken, all kinds of things. So more than half of those were all construction sites. The other ones I read were bikes out of the yard or in the backyard. The garage door was left open, or the house was left open, people went in, took stuff, left. A couple of those looked like, and I just skimmed over them today, a couple of those looked like probably somebody that knew that there was valuables in there, a relative or friend, or a previous renter, maybe 'cause there's some houses that are in here for rent. Maybe knew the code of the garage or something, and went in and took stuff. So those are a little bit unique by comparison, but I can tell you most of our thefts and burglaries, just over the weekend, we had a little bit of a rash of car burglaries out in the Ammon area. All of them were open cars, unlocked cars, and that was all just opportunity because it was unlocked. And they took stupid things, the faceplates off the stereos, you can't use it by itself. The stereo in the car you can't use. There's 2 of those out in Hammond. They'll take change, they'll take chargers out of the thing, you know. Hide your valuables and make sure your stuff's locked up. Every once in a while things get forgotten, but, you know, it's summertime and we're gonna have a lot more wanderers at night. And, I mean, we have a lot more people awake at night and their windows are open and they're hearing things, but a lot of times they're going along checking doors. If you see someone checking doors, someone sees that, you know, call us and tell us this is going on right here, this is the way they're going, this is what they look like, you know, and see if we can go catch them. But most of these thefts, it's usually opportunistic in that it's easy for them to do. So, you know, it's a good thing to be cognizant of how secure your place is. I mean, I lock my doors at night when I go to bed. In summertime, I open my windows and things, but I feel real bad for someone who starts climbing in my window at night. I'm probably gonna be bleeding before they get all the way in. So, one way, shape, or form. You know, checking your lights around your house. I leave my outdoor lights on all the time. I even have a street light across from my house. I still leave my lights on because well-lit areas, you know, if someone's really looking hard for something easy, even if they gotta break into it, you know, they're probably gonna look for darker areas where no one can see what they look like, even if they make some noise and things like that. So if it's not foolproof, if someone really wants to come break into your house, they're really gonna probably get in there no matter what you do, you know. So it's just little prevention things that'll save little pain in the butt. I call them pain in the butt thefts. Things that really annoy you. You really feel, violated or something, you know, encroached upon because someone was in your house or someone was in your car going through your stuff, or really could have been prevented just by locking the door. So it's annoying and frustrating. So we like to prevent those things. We like to make, you know, like I say, putting those signs up is a deterrent. You know, people making calls, people calling, even if there's no one suspicious, maybe they're end up having a legitimate reason here, but they really are casing the place. If they know someone's calling and a cop's gonna come and talk to them on the street, then they know that people are watching. And if they are thinking about it, they're gonna go somewhere else where they don't think anybody's watching or noticing. So that kind of makes sense. Some good things to think about there. I really didn't have, when I looked in all these calls, there wasn't really anything real complicated in this neighborhood. There's your fair share of family fights and arguments and disturbances, and I think you have per capita as many drunken brawls as any other neighborhood, so, which is hardly none, so.